The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber made James Walker feel small. He straightened his blue diplomatic uniform and touched the silver Earth pin on his chest for luck. Behind him stood Tom Reed and Mary Cooper, the best scientists Earth had to offer. They had practiced this moment 100 times, but nothing could have prepared them for the real thing. The chamber itself was bigger than any room on Earth. Curved walls rose up for what seemed like miles, lined with floating platforms where alien representatives from thousands of worlds sat watching. Lights of different colors danced through the air, marking the paths of small transport pods that carried messages between the council members. Ambassador Walker. A deep voice boomed through the chamber. You may approach the central platform. James took a deep breath and stepped onto a glowing disc. It lifted him smoothly into the air, carrying him to the middle of the vast space. The central platform was a circular stage that floated in the heart of the chamber, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The High Speaker of the Council was a tall figure with silvery skin that seemed to shine under the chamber's lights. Earth's request for membership in the Galactic Council will now be heard, it announced. Present your case, Ambassador. James activated the holographic display he had brought. Images of Earth's achievements filled the air around him. The cleanup of the oceans, the Mars colonies, the new fusion power plants, and the peace treaties that had finally united their world. Honored members of the Council, he began, his voice clear and strong. Humanity comes before you today, not just as another species seeking membership, but as a civilization ready to contribute to the greater galactic community. In the 50 years since we discovered faster-than-light travel, we have. A sharp sound cut through his words. One of the council members, a being with multiple eyes arranged in a circle around its head, had made a noise that might have been a laugh. Contribute, the alien said. Let us examine what your species has actually done in these 50 years. New images replaced James's careful presentation. They showed Earth's military ships, their weapons testing, the rapid expansion of their colonies. In the time it takes most species to establish their first off-world colony, you have claimed 12 systems, another council member said. This one looked almost human, except for the patterns of light that moved across its skin. Your rate of technological advancement is dangerous and unpredictable. James tried to explain. We advance quickly because we have to. Earth's history has taught us that. Yes, let's talk about Earth's history, a third council member interrupted. This one was a floating cloud of sparkles held together by some kind of energy field. In the last 1,000 years alone, your species has fought more wars among themselves than most civilizations have in their entire histories. Wars that taught us the value of peace, James argued. Look at Earth now. We're united. We work together. We've solved our biggest problems. By creating new ones, the High Speaker said. The Silver Being's voice was calm but firm. You solve environmental problems on one planet by mining others. You achieve peace among yourselves by building weapons to use against possible alien threats. You advance your technology without considering the consequences. Mary Cooper stepped forward on her platform below. If I may speak, she asked. Our technological advancement follows careful scientific. The human scientist will remain silent, the High Speaker commanded. This is a diplomatic hearing. James felt sweat on his forehead, but kept his voice steady. We understand that we move quickly compared to other species, but that's not a bad thing. We could help the Council. Our innovation could solve problems that have. Enough. The High Speaker's voice filled the chamber. The Council has deliberated on Earth's application for membership extensively. We have watched your species since you first achieved spaceflight, and we have reached a decision. The chamber grew silent. James could hear his own heart beating. Humanity is denied membership in the Galactic Council, the High Speaker announced. Furthermore, due to the clear and present danger your species represents to galactic stability, we are implementing a Class 1 quarantine on your home system. James felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Quarantine. But that would mean For the next 500 years, no human ship will be permitted to leave your solar system. The High Speaker continued. Automated defense platforms will be installed at strategic points to enforce this quarantine. You will be permitted to continue development within your system's natural boundaries, but any attempt to expand beyond them will be met with immediate defensive action. You can't do this, Tom Reed shouted from below. You can't just lock us away. We not only can, we must, the being with the circular eyes said. Your species represents everything the Council was formed to prevent. Uncontrolled expansion, reckless innovation, and a history of solving problems through conflict. James tried one last time. Please, at least let us present our full case. Give us a chance to show you. The decision is final, the High Speaker said. You have 1 standard month to recall all human ships to your solar system. After that, the quarantine begins. This session is ended. The floating disc began to lower James back to the floor. As he descended, he watched the Council members turn away one by one, their platforms drifting back into recesses in the chamber walls. They were being dismissed, not just rejected, but locked away like a dangerous animal. Tom and Mary waited for him at the bottom, their faces showing the same shock he felt. They walked in silence through the massive doors and back to their ship. It wasn't until they were inside that Mary finally spoke. What do we do now? James looked out the viewport at the massive Council station. In the distance, he could see ships already moving into position, probably carrying the defensive platforms that would become their prison walls. Now, he said quietly, now we go home and tell Earth that the galaxy doesn't want us. But they should remember something. His hands tightened on the back of his chair. Every time in human history someone has built a wall to keep us contained, we've found a way around it, over it, or through it. They think they're protecting the galaxy from us. Maybe they should worry about who's going to protect them from what will become because of this. The ship's engines hummed to life. As they pulled away from the station, James watched the Council's huge fleet of ships preparing to escort them home. The Council thought this was the end of humanity's galactic ambitions, but looking at the determined faces of his companions, James knew better. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning of something the Council never expected. If they wouldn't let humanity join their galactic community, then humanity would build something better. Something new. Something that would make the Council regret the day they decided to lock humanity away. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, heading home to Earth. They had a lot of work to do, and not much time to do it. 1 month to recall their ships, and then 500 years of isolation. But James was already thinking ahead, his mind racing with possibilities. The Council had just made the biggest mistake in their history, and someday they would realize it. They had given humanity a reason to prove them wrong. 10 years passed like a slow-burning fire. The automated defense platforms hung in space like dark stars, their weapons always pointed toward Earth. But behind this wall of alien technology, humanity was far from idle. Anna Thompson stood at the window of her Mars office, watching workers in construction suits build another dome in the red desert. She remembered the day the quarantine began, when she was just another colony administrator. Now, as director of the Mars Development Project, she saw their prison becoming their strength. Director Thompson, her assistant, called through the intercom. The weekly progress report is ready. She turned from the window and sat at her desk, bringing up the holographic display. Numbers and charts filled the air in front of her, each one telling a story of progress. Food production was up another 15%. The new water reclamation systems were working better than expected, and the underground factories were producing materials faster than ever. Send a message to Earth Command, she said. Mars Colony Beta is ready for another 1,000 residents. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Robert Mills entered, still wearing his engineering uniform covered in red Mars dust. His team had been working on something special, something they kept hidden from the Council's watching eyes. It works, he said simply, placing a small device on her desk. We did it. Anna picked up the device carefully. It looked simple, just a metal cube with a few lights. But inside was humanity's answer to the Council's ban on faster-than-light travel. They called it the Fold Drive, and it worked nothing like the Council's technology. "How many ships can we equip?" she asked. "With the hidden factories in the asteroid belt, all of them within a year. The Council's sensors won't detect it because they're looking for their kind of drive signatures. This is completely different." Anna smiled. That was the thing about humans. Tell them they can't do something, and they'll find another way to do it. The Council had banned them from using standard faster-than-light drives, so they'd invented a new way to travel through space. Out in the asteroid belt, more progress was being made. Mining ships that looked like normal rock cutters were actually testing new weapons. Research stations hidden inside hollow asteroids were developing quantum computers that could hack the Council's defense platforms. Every asteroid, every piece of space debris, became part of humanity's silent revolution. Back on Earth, changes were happening too. The old nations had finally understood that they needed to work together. The Solar Confederation was born, uniting all of humanity under one banner. They kept the old flags and cultures, but now they had something bigger to believe in. Anna's computer chimed with an incoming call from Earth. James Walker's face appeared in the air above her desk. The former ambassador had aged in the past 10 years, but his eyes were still sharp. "Director Thompson," he said, "I assume you've heard about the Fold Drive's success. Robert just told me. Everything's coming together, isn't it?" James nodded. "Faster than we hoped. The Council thinks they trapped us in here, but they really just gave us a safe place to grow stronger." "How are the new colonies doing?" Anna brought up another display showing the underground cities they'd built on Mars. "We're completely self-sufficient now. Food, water, manufacturing. We don't need anything from Earth anymore." That was the Council's first mistake. They thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, it forced us to solve problems we might have ignored. "And the special projects?" She looked at Robert, who nodded. "The quantum hackers are ready. The Fold Drives work. The new ships are hidden and waiting. We could probably break out now if we wanted to." "But we won't," James said. "Not yet. We need to be more than ready. We need to be unstoppable. The Council's going to get one hell of a surprise when they check on us in a few decades." Anna looked out her window again. Another dome was taking shape, and beyond it, she could see the long line of transport vehicles heading to the new mining sites. Somewhere up there, past the defense platforms, the Council probably thought they were suffering, struggling to survive in isolation. They couldn't have been more wrong. Earth's population was now spread across the solar system. The Moon had research bases hidden under its surface. Mars had become a second Earth. The asteroid belt was a network of hidden shipyards and factories. Even the moons of Jupiter and Saturn had secret colonies now. "There's something else," Robert said, pulling up his own data display. "We found others out there." The quantum communications array picked up signals. Other species that the Council rejected or ignored. "They're waiting, watching to see what we'll do." This was news to Anna. "How many?" "At least 7 different civilizations, all stuck in their own systems. Some were rejected like us. Others were just ignored because they developed differently than the Council wanted. They're all learning about us, watching us. And I think they're hoping we'll succeed." James leaned forward in his display. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Anna nodded. "When we break out, we won't be alone. We can help them. Build something new, not a council, but a real community. A foundation." "The foundation of independent systems," Robert said, testing the name. "I like it." Anna stood and walked to her window one more time. The sun was setting, turning the Martian sky into a burst of reds and purples. Somewhere out there, past the Council's barriers, other species were watching, waiting, hoping. The Council thought they had contained humanity, but they had really just helped create something new. "How long?" James asked. How long until we're ready? Anna watched the last sunlight fade from the Martian sky. In the darkness, she could see the lights of the colony spreading across the planet's surface like a network of stars. Each light was a sign of human determination, of their refusal to be contained. "Give me 15 more years," she said. 15 years to finish the ships, train the crews, and set up the quantum network. Then we'll show the galaxy what humanity can really do. As night fell on Mars, work continued. In hidden bases across the solar system, humans kept building, learning, and preparing. The Council's defense platforms hung silent in space, their sensors watching for the wrong things, their weapons aimed at enemies that were changing into something new. Humanity had been locked away, but they had turned their prison into a fortress, their isolation into strength. And when they finally broke free, they wouldn't just rejoin the galaxy, they would reshape it. The silent revolution continued, one day at a time, hidden behind the walls their enemies had built. And when those walls finally fell, the galaxy would never be the same. The day humanity broke their chains started quietly. No grand announcements, no warnings. Just a simple command sent from deep inside a Martian control center. Execute Freedom Protocol. Robert Mills watched his screen as thousands of quantum computers activated simultaneously, each one targeted a different Council defense platform. Years of preparation came down to this moment. His hands didn't shake as he entered the final code, but sweat rolled down his back. "All teams report ready," his assistant said. "Waiting for your command, sir." Robert took a deep breath. Send the virus. Across the solar system, the Council's defense platforms started to shut down. One by one, their weapons powered off, their communication systems went dark, and their sensors stopped working. The Council's mighty wall crumbled in silence. In orbit around Mars, the first ships powered up their full drives. They looked nothing like normal spaceships. Their hulls curved in strange ways that bent light around them, making them hard to see. Inside each one, crews who had trained for years in secret prepared to leave their solar system for the first time. Anna Thompson stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Freedom. Her hair had gone gray over the years, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "Status report," she ordered. "All defense platforms neutralize," her tactical officer reported. "No alerts sent to the Council. As far as they know, everything's normal." "Fleet reports ready," another officer added. "All 30 ships showing green on full drive status." Anna nodded. "Send the signal to our friends out there. Let them know we're coming." The quantum communication network lit up, sending messages faster than light to the other imprisoned species they'd contacted. Some had been waiting centuries for this moment, watching humanity's progress, hoping they would succeed where others had failed. The Freedom's engines hummed to life. Around it, other ships moved into formation. Each one carried not just a crew, but humanity's dreams of freedom and the technology they'd developed in secret. "Plot course for the Centauri system," Anna ordered. "Let's meet our neighbors." The fold drives activated. Space itself seemed to bend around the ships, and then they were gone, leaving their prison behind. The journey that should have taken years happened in minutes. When they emerged, 3 suns filled their view screen. "Multiple contacts detected," the sensor officer announced. "They're using the recognition codes we sent. It's the Centauri civilization." Ships appeared around them, their designs strange but beautiful. The Centauri had been one of the first civilizations to answer humanity's secret messages. The Council had ignored them centuries ago, deciding they were too primitive to join galactic society. Now they had a chance to prove that decision wrong. The next few hours were a blur of activity. More human ships arrived, and with them came the tools and technology they'd developed. The Centauri welcomed them eagerly, sharing their own innovations, things the Council had never seen because they'd stopped looking. "We're receiving signals from the Proxima system," the communications officer reported. "The Luminars want to know when we're coming to help them too." Anna smiled. The Luminars were another species the Council had rejected, locked away in their own system. "Tell them we'll be there within the day." It's time to free everyone the Council tried to contain. Over the next week, the human fleet moved from system to system. Each place they visited held another civilization the Council had cast aside. Some had been quarantined like humanity. Others had been ignored or forgotten. All of them were ready for change. In her private quarters, Anna reviewed the reports. 10 systems freed in 7 days. The Council's defense platforms hadn't stood a chance against human quantum hacking. Their sensors couldn't detect the full dry ships. Their communications couldn't track the quantum network messages. James Walker's face appeared on her screen. He'd stayed on Earth, coordinating the diplomatic side of their breakout. The Foundation Charter is ready, he said. 7 species have already signed. We're not just breaking chains now. We're building something new. Any response from the Council? She asked. James shook his head. Nothing. Their sensors still show everything as normal in our system. They won't know anything's wrong until they physically send ships to check on us. And by then it'll be too late, Anna said. We'll be too strong to stop. A knock on her door interrupted them. Robert Mills entered, carrying a data pad. You need to see this, he said. We just got a message from a system beyond the Council's borders. There are others out there, species that escaped the Council, civilizations that developed on their own. They want to join us. Anna took the pad, reading quickly. How many? At least 15 different species. They'd been watching the Council for years, staying hidden, developing their own technologies. When they detected our quantum communications, they started reaching out. The Foundation's going to be bigger than we thought, James said from the screen. We're not just freeing the imprisoned now. We're uniting everyone the Council rejected or ignored. Anna walked to her viewport, watching the stars. Out there, thousands of civilizations lived under the Council's rule. How many of them were unhappy? How many would choose a different path if they knew it existed? Send messages to all our new allies, she ordered. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. We've broken free and established our initial network. Now it's time for Phase 2, building our own empire. Not one based on control like the Council, but one built on cooperation and innovation. And if the Council discovers what we're doing? Robert asked. Anna's smile was fierce. Let them come. Every technology they have, we've found a way around. Every rule they made, we've broken. Every wall they built, we've gone through. They thought quarantine would weaken us. Instead, it forced us to become stronger than they could imagine. The Freedom's engines powered up again as new coordinates were set. Another system waited for liberation, another civilization ready to join their growing foundation. Humanity had not just broken free. They had started a revolution that would change the galaxy forever. Behind them, the Council's defense platforms hung silent and blind in space, still guarding an empty prison. By the time they realized their mistake, their power would already be broken. A new age was beginning, one where innovation and cooperation would replace control and stagnation. The full drive engaged, and the Freedom disappeared into bent space, carrying humanity's dreams of a better galaxy with it. The silent revolution had become a roar of freedom that would echo across the stars. 50 years after breaking free, the Foundation had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Maria Thompson stood on the observation deck of Freedom Station, watching ships come and go through the massive space dock. Each vessel had a different design, representing the 35 species that now made up their alliance. She shared her grandmother, Anna's sharp eyes and determination, but her battlefield wasn't breaking free from prison. It was building something that would last. As head of Foundation Diplomatic Relations, she worked to turn a group of escaped and ignored civilizations into something greater. Ambassador Thompson, the voice called. She turned to see Captain Peter West, his uniform bearing the new Foundation insignia, a rising sun breaking through chains. The Quantum Council is ready for today's session. Maria smiled at the name. They'd chosen to call their leadership group a council as a small joke at the expense of those who had rejected them. But unlike the Galactic Council, The Quantum Council included representatives from every member species, and any civilization could apply to join. The council chamber was nothing like the towering, intimidating room where humans had once been rejected. Instead, it was a circular room with comfortable seats arranged in a way that let everyone see each other clearly. Today, all 50 seats were full as representatives discussed their latest projects. The terraforming of Dead World 7 is proceeding ahead of schedule, reported Blue Sky, the Luminar representative whose body glowed with soft light. The new matter conversion systems are rebuilding the atmosphere twice as fast as our old methods. The quantum communication network now reaches 6,000 star systems, added first speaker Helios of the Centauri. Even the worlds still under council control are secretly connecting to our network. They want to know more about us. Maria took her seat as the reports continued. The Foundation had grown far beyond a simple alliance of rejected species. They had combined their different technologies and ideas to create things the Galactic Council had never imagined. A flash of light announced the arrival of another member. The Wanderer, as they called themselves, was a being of pure energy who had escaped Council space centuries ago. "I bring news from the border regions," it said. 3 more Council worlds have requested membership in the Foundation. They're willing to leave everything behind to join us. This wasn't surprising anymore. Word of the Foundation had spread through hidden channels, carried by quantum messages that the Council couldn't detect. Their empire now covered nearly a third of the galaxy, and it grew larger every day. "Show them," Peter said quietly, handing Maria a datapad. She looked at the screen and her eyes widened. The pad showed images from deep in Council space, massive protests on Council worlds, people carrying signs with the Foundation symbol, ships disappearing from Council fleets, their crews choosing freedom over control. Even some Council member species were secretly preparing to switch sides. "The old Council is dying," the Wanderer said. "They just don't know it yet. Their own people are turning away from them, drawn by our success. We offer freedom to grow, to innovate, to be different. They offer only rules and limits." Maria stood, drawing everyone's attention. "Then we need to be ready for what comes next. The Council won't just fade away. They'll try to stop this. We need to prepare." The next few hours were filled with planning. The Foundation had grown strong through cooperation, but they had never forgotten the lessons of their imprisonment. Their ships were faster, their weapons more advanced, their defenses stronger. If the Council wanted a fight, they would find themselves facing an enemy they never expected. In the station's massive engineering bay, Robert Mills's grandson David worked on their latest innovation. The old fold drive had been just the beginning. Now they had ships that could jump across the galaxy in seconds, powered by the combined knowledge of 35 species who had all found different ways to solve the same problems. Another Council ship just defected, David reported when Maria visited his lab. This one was carrying their latest defense codes. Not that we needed them. Our quantum systems broke their encryption years ago. Maria watched the holographic display showing the Foundation's territory. It looked like a wave of light sweeping through the galaxy, growing larger every day. Worlds that joined them didn't just gain protection. They gained access to all the combined knowledge and technology of the members. "They thought making us all outcasts would keep us weak," David said, making adjustments to a new device that could turn energy directly into matter. "Instead, they forced us all to think differently, to find new ways to solve problems. Now we're so far ahead of them that their own people are choosing to join us." Maria touched the Foundation insignia on her uniform. "Grandfather would be proud," she said, thinking of James Walker. He hadn't lived to see how big their dream would become, but his vision had helped create all of this. An alert flashed on the main screen. Another Council world was asking to join them, this one larger than any before. The Foundation's territory would soon touch the Council's core systems. The final confrontation was coming, not a battle with ships and weapons, but a choice between 2 ways of living. "Send a message to all Foundation worlds," Maria ordered. Tell them to prepare for guests. When the council finally breaks, we'll need to help their people adjust to freedom." As she looked out at the busy shipyard, Maria thought about how far they'd come. The council had tried to lock humanity away, seeing them as too dangerous and unpredictable. Instead, they had helped create something unprecedented. An empire built on cooperation instead of control, on innovation instead of restriction, on freedom instead of fear. The Foundation was more than just an alliance or an empire now. It was proof that there was another way to live among the stars. And soon, very soon, even the Council would have to face that truth. Above the station, ships of all shapes and sizes moved through space, each one carrying the Foundation symbol. Inside them, crews of different species worked together, sharing knowledge, solving problems, building a future that no one could have imagined 50 years ago. The Council had tried to contain humanity. Instead, they had helped create something that would replace them. And when the Council finally realized their mistake, it would be far too late to change anything. The revolution that had started with a prison break had become a transformation that would reshape the galaxy forever. 100 years after humanity's rejection, a Council diplomatic ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth's solar system. They came expecting to find a primitive civilization waiting out its punishment. What they found instead made them stop dead in space. The defense platforms they had left behind were gone. In their place floated Freedom Station Alpha, a massive structure larger than any space station in Council space. Thousands of ships moved around it, each one more advanced than anything the Council had. The station's quantum scanners detected the Council ship long before it got close. Maria Thompson, now the Foundation's Grand Director, watched the Council ship's approach from her office window. Her hair was white now, but she stood as straight as ever. Behind her, the original rejection notice from the Council hung on the wall, a reminder of how everything had started. "They're requesting permission to dock," her assistant said. "Should I remind them that they need to follow Foundation protocols?" Maria smiled. "No need to rub it in. Clear them for docking Bay 7. Let's show them proper Foundation hospitality." The Council ship looked old and clumsy next to the sleek Foundation vessels. As it docked, Maria made her way to the reception area. Representatives from 20 different species waited with her, all of them wearing the Foundation's insignia. Some were from worlds the Council had rejected. Others had escaped Council control. All of them were here to witness this moment. The Council delegation stepped out of their ship and stopped in shock. Their leader, a tall being with crystalline skin, looked around with all four eyes wide open. They had expected to find humans alone. Instead, they faced an alliance of species more powerful than anything they had imagined. "Welcome to Freedom Station Alpha," Maria said. "I am Grand Director Thompson of the Foundation of Independent Systems. We've been expecting you." The crystal being tried to hide its surprise. "I am High Speaker Crystal Song of the Galactic Council. We have come to evaluate Earth's progress during its quarantine period. I think you'll find," Maria said with a small smile, "that a lot has changed in 100 years. Please, follow me." She led them to a viewing room where massive screens showed the Foundation's territory. The Council delegates watched in silence as they saw how far their quarantine had failed. The Foundation controlled nearly half the galaxy now. Even as they watched, another Council world switched its allegiance, its dot on the map changing from Council red to Foundation blue. "Impossible," Crystal Song whispered. "The defense platforms, the quarantine, were broken decades ago," Maria said. "But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is what we built afterward. Would you like to see?" The next hour was a tour that shattered every Council expectation. They saw quantum communication systems that made Council technology look primitive. They watched matter conversion engines create entire ships from pure energy. They met crews made up of species that had been enemies under Council rule, now working together seamlessly. "How?" Crystal Song finally asked. "How did you do all this?" Maria stopped at a window overlooking Earth. The planet glowed with the lights of a civilization that had spread across the stars. You gave us exactly what we needed, a reason to prove you wrong. You locked us away, thinking isolation would weaken us. Instead, it forced us to become stronger, and we weren't the only ones. She gestured to her companions. Every species here has a similar story. You rejected them, ignored them, or tried to control them. But instead of giving up, they found new ways to grow. When we broke free and found each other, we didn't just share technology. We shared dreams. And those dreams built this. An alert flashed on the main screen. 3 more council worlds had just requested Foundation membership. The council delegates watched in horror as their empire continued to shrink. Your own people are choosing to join us, Maria said quietly. Not because we conquered them, but because we offer something you never did: freedom to grow, to change, to be different. Every species brings new ideas, new ways of thinking. We don't force anyone to follow one path. That's why we're growing while you're fading away. Crystal Song drew itself up to its full height. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years. Our ways work. Your chaos will only lead to disaster. Maria laughed softly. Look around you. We've achieved more in 100 years than you did in 10,000. We've solved problems your council claimed were impossible. We've united species you said could never work together. And we did it all because you tried to stop us. The station's quantum network lit up as another council world joined them. This one was close to the council's home systems. The delegates' crystal skin paled as they realized what it meant. You don't have to fight us, Maria said. In fact, we're inviting the council to join the Foundation. Not as rulers, but as equals. Help us build something new, something better. And if we refuse? Maria shrugged. Then watch as your member worlds continue to choose us over you. The age of control is ending. The future belongs to those who are willing to embrace change. She led them back to their ship. As they prepared to leave, Crystal Song turned to her one last time. The Council believed containing humanity would protect the galaxy. We were wrong, weren't we? Yes, Maria said simply. You were. But maybe that was the greatest gift you could have given us. You forced us to become something new, something better. And now we're offering you the chance to become something new too. The council ship departed, carrying news that would shake the old order to its core. Maria watched it go from her office window, remembering her grandfather's words from so long ago. The council had built walls to contain humanity, and humanity had found a way through them. But they had done more than that. They had built something that would replace those walls with bridges. Below her window, ships from 100 worlds moved through space. Each one carried the Foundation symbol, the rising sun-breaking chains. But the chains weren't just the quarantine that had once held humanity. They were all the limits, all the restrictions, all the fears that held people back. The Council had tried to contain humanity's potential, seeing it as a threat. Instead, they had helped create something greater than they could have imagined. An empire built not on power or control, but on the simple idea that every species deserved the chance to reach for the stars in their own way. 100 years after being rejected, humanity hadn't just proven the Council wrong. They had shown the galaxy a better way to live. And that, Maria thought as she watched another Council world turn blue on her map, was the greatest victory of all.